It's understandable that people would chase the high highs and try and avoid the low lows of reality. But one of the challenges about always aiming for peak experiences is you find yourself in dissatisfaction of the present moment. Or at the very best case scenario, you find yourself constantly anticipating a higher moment than the one that you're currently living in. I imagine you've shown up in precise timing to not only shift from an oscillating pattern with how you experience the joys, the challenges of your life, you appear to be ready for your new normal to be what was once considered your peak experiences. And so, through the course of this video, I'm going to share with you some direct perspectives that you can apply, if you so choose, to your life so that you can live in a more grounded, coherent way while simultaneously enjoying your own experience of life. By the way, I'm Danielle Lynn. I talk to radcat reality creators, such as yourself, who are choosing to apply both reality creation understanding, but also practical applications in your life so that you can move beyond concept and start embodying what it is to enjoy your life right here, right now. Now, your experience of reality, whether you enjoy it or not, is really going to depend on your perspective set point. Because ultimately, everything simply is as it is. And it's where you are oriented in the scale of reality and your perception of where you are oriented that gives you a feeling of enjoyment or contrast. Your high, the things you experience as high, may be actually a low for someone else depending on where they are sitting in the perspective level. So in order to attune to your higher level set point, it involves you applying your discernment to your current perspectives. Now, we've had a few conversations on discernment if you've been tuning in to several of these conversations up until now. But today's has a specifically clear message, which is this is the time to cut through any internal structures that have been in place for a while that may have appeared to support you for a period of time, but now they might just be holding you back. And you're the one that ultimately knows what this means or what that looks like for you. I'll share with you a few perspectives that you can use to assist yourself in applying that clarity inward, in having the inner knowing to see what is a yes for you and what is a no for you. When we understand what matters to us and what's not for us, beyond any stories, beyond any belief structures, so that we can navigate this life in this world with clarity. Discernment is what aids us in being decisive with life. It also aids us in boundaries, both inner and outer. And what these things do is they help us move with clarity and precision. So, for example, if you've been feeling stagnant in any way, shape, or form, this may be an invitation for you to more clearly connect with your discernment and see, is this stagnation? Is this an intentional pause? Or is there a choice that I'm being invited to make right here that will then inspire things to get moving once again? Only you know that for sure for yourself. In the scope of your personal experience, you can temporarily choose moments in time or prolonged moments in time where it might appear to feel that you are disconnected from your core frequency. It's all part of the great illusion. And it's part of the experience that you ultimately signed up for, which is to have an reality experience as the creator you are. Sometimes that experience means that you wanted moments of unknowing or confusion or delay, and sometimes that means you wanted moments of feeling empowered and strong and fluid. The thing I invite all of us to remember is in order to have one experience or another, in order to experience freedom, we are then gifted the contrast of understanding what it feels to be not in freedom. In order to feel high, we are gifted the experience to know what it feels like to be low, and so forth. So contrast could be seen as one of the ways that we experience this particular flavor of life. Now, here's the interesting thing. We're at a juncture in reality where we appear to have the choice to step into an entirely new embodied experience of reality. And while contrast may always appear in some form, our experience of contrast may rapidly shift as compared to what it is now. In other words, it doesn't necessarily need to feel as extreme or as devastating as some experiences of contrast appear to in the current reality. But part of this process is each of us are being invited to get very attuned to what we are about. We're being invited to step into our discernment pants. We're being invited to shift from experiencing reality as something that happens to us, kind of ambiguously, into understanding that our focus is a very, very powerful tool. And that when we unify our focus with a clear connection to our heart, we find ourselves then able to navigate through life in ways that to the mind may appear to be mythical. Because you're no longer applying just logic to your decisions. What you start to do is you start to apply coherence to your decisions. You start to move through life in a way that probably more closely relates to harmonics, as though you were playing a musical instrument and you had a certain chord and you were listening for the chords that harmonize with it. And so discordant chords don't have to be bad or wrong, but then they're not for you. So therefore you don't focus on or entertain those paths. Whereas you place extra emphasis on the harmonic chords that do appear to be a yes. This is one way you can look at navigating with discernment. Now, that's not to say that you must throw logic out the window. It's just that we're no longer using logic to convince ourselves of a choice. Instead, logic is free to operate in a more comprehensive container of once we have made a choice, we can apply logic to structures or systems that we want to build. It can become a wonderful assistant in many of those forms. And so at the present moment, when you find this video, I'm imagining that there's a level of growth that you've undergone, and your discernment is being highlighted at this time so that you can anchor into core stability. So core stability means you're no longer looking for the external highs and lows to dictate what's going on for you. You're more and more focused on that inner heart speak, and then allowing the external things just to become feedback to that heart speak and how you make your choices. And so you're not taking it so personally anymore. In other words, if something negative appears to happen, you're not thinking, what did I do wrong? Or if something positive appears to happen, you're not like, I'm so amazing. You are able to apply a little bit more of a playful neutrality to life, which actually allows you to move through it more nimbly. And as a result, you generally find yourself less stuck when seeming challenges arise. And you actually find it more natural to amplify the times that you find fun because you're not attached to any specific one of the states. And yet you can still enjoy them. Some people hear non-attachment and they think you don't feel pleasure at all. That's not the case. You're just no longer attached to the states that come with pleasure and pain either. And as a result, you receive a lot more of what it is you actually want, because now you're not in resistance and opposition to what you don't want, which once again actually amplifies whatever you're in resistance or opposition to. Funny that. And so when you're approaching this video, something that feels key to highlight is there's a new normal you are setting for yourself. So I'm talking about discernment and your heart set point. Well, what comes along with that is your high states, what once was a high state to you, you're being invited to anchor into that as your new normal. It's kind of funny because once again, high states are only experienced as such because we would be seen as being in a lower state in comparison to that. So therefore, when we experience a high, we experience the delightful contrast of it in relation to where we are used to living. It's actually one of the reasons why, if you want to experience something in your life, you might start with excitement, but then I often express to people, then you shift from excitement into normalizing of it. Because as you normalize something that you want, it is more and more congruent with you living and walking the embodied path where it shows up in your life. If it's normal for you to have wonderful, incredible things happen to you, then you have no resistance to when they show up. It doesn't suddenly become something that you get very heightened about and then start freaking out as to whether it will stay or go. It's simply another part of your day. Some people might hear that and go, well, I don't want that. I don't want to make things boring in my life. Well, what's fun about that is you will have new highs and new lows from that perspective. It's just that what was once a high to you is no longer the high. So by giving yourself permission to normalize what you actually want, you give yourself permission to embody a new playing field. It doesn't mean your challenges go away. What it means is that now you have shifted frequencies, so the way you're experiencing the highs and lows also, we'll say, hit differently. But it's not something you can really conceptualize. It's something that you get to embody. And as you give yourself permission to embody it, you start to see, oh, it really is normal. It really is that easy. And there are many tools and techniques that we can apply to assist ourselves in maintaining that set point. It's not that the tools and the techniques are the things that transform reality for you, but they can be, you could say, great assistance in your moment-to-moment life as you anchor into your new normal. So for example, I have the Flow book. This is a wonderful tool that you can utilize that assists you in attuning to your inner voice so that you can walk your path with clarity. And there's a link in the description if you'd like to get that for yourself. Additionally, there's other tools, techniques that you can utilize if you choose, or you can ask your heart to show you the way. Sometimes you'll be connected with a book, teaching, or tool. Sometimes you'll be connected with an instant knowing. The thing is, it's not that one thing is better than the other. It's that what is going to be the most coherent, cohesive path for you, what you believe works best for you, that is the tool that I personally would recommend. Because then you're not resisting your current momentum and your current beliefs, you're working with it. And as you lean into that, once again, you start to normalize your new high. And then from there, you're going to see new perspectives and new options. See how that works? And when you feel inspired to go deeper with certain tools or certain books or certain teachings, it's likely because on some level, you connected with them as breadcrumbs for yourself along the way. I actually used to be very resistant to other teachings and tools until I realized that certainly I could figure these things out myself, and maybe it wasn't my joy to figure out this particular tool out myself, and by giving myself permission to connect with the resonant tools and teachers that already existed, it would actually allow me to arrive at the point where what I was discovering, drawing in, and sharing with everyone was something that hadn't yet been synthesized before. And that's something that excites me about this path. Anyone who's tuning in, I get excited at thinking about who might be tuning in now that in a later now, I might be watching your video, reading your book, learning something cool that you created. And this is one of the ways we synthesize with each other. I think it's incredibly fun. So if you'd like to develop your inner discernment, if you'd like to more keenly connect to it, I invite you to check your heart, check your gut, check your inner system, which could be as simple as taking in a breath, putting a hand or two over the heart and saying, does it feel like a yes or feel like a no? Yeses feel like expansion. Nos often feel like constriction, in my case anyway. And see if it feels like a yes to check out the Flow book for you, or check out the link to the lab or many of the other offerings on there for discernment. I am certain you will connect with the most resonant path for yourself to amplify your knowing, to walk your path, live your discernment. And I am so appreciating you in each and every moment. I look forward to our next conversation.